We do actually have to talk some footy, so let's get stuck into the Sunday roast. And what a match it was, that middle match yesterday. The Warriors are holding off a very fast-finishing Cowboys outfit. Billy, this one was an absolute cracker.
Yeah, like many games over the weekend, one team gets out to a big lead and the other one comes back. It was 28-12 in favour of the Warriors, who started incredibly well. Haven't they turned their season around off that disappointing display in round one over in Vegas? And they've only been beaten once by 2 points. They are on fire at the moment, the Warriors. That's why they're sitting second on the ladder. And then it was the Cowboys that came back in the last 20-30 minutes of this game. They probably should have won the game. Rocco Berry went off the field and they had a deficiency in their defensive line, and the Cowboys found that out, but they hung on tough in the end, and they got the chocolates at the death. But the Cowboys have been in form the last month, and this is their first loss in 5 weeks. But a great game.
Yeah, that was a big moment, that one there. Real big moment. Luke Metcalf, he's playing so well. His confidence level, he's been in and around. When Sean Johnson, when he retired, he took trying to fill the big boots of Sean Johnson. He's so fast. He's had hamstring problems. He came back from a knee reconstruction, had one of those hamstring grafts and kept tearing his hamstring. But back fully fit, playing consistent footy, and he's a real run threat. If you're a run threat as a halfback, your passing improves.
He not only scored 2 tries, but I think it was the try-saving tackle on Murray Taulagi that was probably the difference in the game. Was this it here? This is one of the Cowboys' tries. That was the play there. That effort to get back there and then execute the tackle. Taulagi goes into touch. That was the difference in the game in the end.
And he had probably a shaky start to the season, Metcalf, didn't he? Because he copped it after that Vegas game. But to his credit, he was able to block that out and...
Yeah, and that's great signs for a young man. Like, he's only in the very early stages of his career, and filling in some big shoes from Sean Johnson. Filling that void there at the Warriors. But I just love the way he competes. You hear Billy talk about it, you hear Joey talk about it, you hear Freddie talk about it pretty much every week on this show. For the halves that want the football in their hands at the big moments, chasing back on line breaks like that, wanting to make a difference for their footy side. That shows that he's got a very, very impressive career ahead of him still.
How would you like to tackle young Halasima? He's only 19. He's a tearaway.
Got the haircut too this week. Magic haircut for Magic Round.
Could go close to Rookie of the Year,
Joey.
Yeah,
he'll be thereabouts. They can produce a young player.
We talk about the Panthers sitting on the bottom of the ladder. Haven't the Panthers contributed to some of the success stories of our competition at the moment? You've got the Bulldogs and the Warriors sitting 1 and 2 on the ladder. They've got assistant coaches from the Panthers. The Bulldogs, obviously, Stephen Crichton's gone there. The Tigers are in the top 8 and playing some great football off the back of picking up a few key players from the Panthers in Apit Coruscant, also Jerome Luai and Sunia Taruva. So the Panthers, although they're sitting on the bottom of the ladder, they've contributed to so many success stories this year. And
it's from players and coaches, Billy, coming through a club that have high standards. And they learn that at the Panthers from a young age. And, they take that to those clubs that they move on to. And it just filters down through the entire football department. And that's why these clubs are doing so well now.
What Andrew Webster is doing there is incredible. And there's just such a spirit in the Warriors jersey. And perhaps what was just as good as the match itself were the scenes afterwards, and there was a whole bay that you can see here of the Warriors fans. It sounded like there were 52,000 of them, Freddie, but I think the competition, when the Warriors are doing well and you see scenes like that, rugby league is doing well.
The big thing I found was the last try was scored about 18 minutes to go. So not only they got to the front, but they held the team off. They're a young team, the Warriors. And you sort of sit there going, are they going to be able to hold on? Are they going to be able to keep being consistent through the year and keep winning? But 18 minutes to go, the conditions were tough, and they did it. And it was the same scenes last year, the Warriors overall, just down here.
They beat Penrith last
year.
They
were awesome.
Yeah, those scenes were incredible.
It was awesome. So they had heaps of people over here. That's one thing I noticed during the last couple of days, actually, how many Warriors jerseys there been.
We've got a new team coming in Perth then the Papua New Guinea side coming in. There has to be another New Zealand
Christchurch.
side. Could you
Just
imagine
has
the
to be.
rivalry between South Island and North
Yeah,
Island?
big brother, little brother.
Yeah.
The infrastructure's there. They're building a new stadium over there in
Players
Christchurch.
coming
They've got
through.
players there. We know the popularity of the Warriors is going like that.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's a must. I think there's two bids,
Okay.
different bids. Come on, boys, get together. Let's sort it out.
Okay, let's get stuck into the footy because the Tigers held off the Dragons 34-28. They got home in the end. That's back-to-back victories after that tight one over the Sharks at Leichhardt Oval last week. And Billy, it's pretty fair to say that the Tigers of the last few years would not have had the resilience to hold out teams in these tight clashes.
Yeah, they probably wouldn't have had the class to score the points as well. They've got some dangerous players in their footy team, and if last week's win against the Sharks put the Lockie Galvin saga to bed, well, it is knocked out now. He makes a huge difference to this footy team. He set up the first try, a beautiful little tap on. I thought Charlie Staines was good. He was a late inclusion into the team. He scored a couple of tries. They weren't at their best, the Tigers, but neither were the Dragons. And the Dragons could have actually won this game. There was a real turning point.
Yeah,
Unfortunate for Jaden Sewer right on half-time. He could have scored a try untouched, but dropped the ball. And Buller, he ran the length. So that was a 10-point turnaround or 12-point turnaround. And
Offload, moving the ball off offloads. You can't waste offload.
That's
I feel so sorry for him because he's such a tough player.
yeah,
It's one of those moments you want to forget, but yeah, it was unfortunate.
Do you remember
dig a big
seeing
hole.
one of these where the
Well,
opposition's gone the length
Not
of the
gone the
field?
length. There was one in the Friday night game with the Roosters. Ray Stone, he was about to score a try.
Billy Smith.
And Billy Smith, he actually made contact with him. This is it here. He actually gets his hand, but the line wide open. You've just got to score them. In these close contests, and most of the games, except the Rabbitohs Knights game, they were all really close, within a try or two.
Well, what can he do different there? Right. Nothing really.
Hold the ball.
Yeah, but he had the ball pretty tight.
Yeah.
It was just an extraordinary.
Oh, it was incredible.
Yeah.
Great desperation.
Yeah.
But yeah, you've got to make sure they count.
Simple stuff footy, just hold the ball.
Like he hasn't got that real loose carry. It's just
Nah.
a freakish effort from Billy Smith.
Yep.
It's unfortunate.
One of the great interviews after the game with Lockie with Billy. And
with his
that was
his
quality. Yeah, absolute quality. Loved
Good
it.
on you, Lockie. Billy touched on it just before, but Lockie Galvin and Jerome Luai together, there's nothing like winning to silence a bit of drama, right? And after back-to-back wins, you can clearly see that, I mean, even if there is still an issue, they're putting it to bed on the field and still combining really well to come up with victories.
Well, do you know what, Em? And I've heard these comments over the last couple of weeks around Lockie Galvin and when he was dropped from the footy side. You don't have to be best mates with everyone in your team, but you do have to be professional. So when it comes time to training and when it comes time to play games, you've got to go out there and you've got to work hard together and make things work for your team, for your teammates, for your coach, and most importantly, for your fans. And this is what these two players are doing. Now, we don't know exactly what's going on within the four walls of the West Tigers, but what I do know is if the West Tigers want to continue winning and I guess more importantly want to continue to compete in this competition, Lockie Galvin's got to be in their footy side. He's in their best 3 or 4 every week, and he's a great attacking player. He's a great competitor. He's been back in 2 games and they've had 2 wins, 2 tough wins as well. They had to fight to the end to win that one last night, as they did last week. But I'm just really pleased for the fans that he's back in the side. They're winning footy games. They seem happy. And they'll walk away from this magic weekend with 2 points, which is what they wanted.
If you were his captain, Cam, would you sit him down and have a conversation with him, and what would you say?
Oh, look, I'd say I'm disappointed that you've chosen to move on. I think long term the club obviously had a plan for him to be there for another 5 years, which we learnt in those days after all the news broke about what was happening at the West Tigers. But I'd just sit him down and say, look, we're disappointed, but there's a job for us to do this season, and that's to go out and compete and be at our very best each weekend for our teammates, for our club, for our fans. And our goal is to try and put ourselves in finals. They haven't played finals for a long time.
14 years.
For a long, long time. So
Reckon they'll play?
it's
Yeah,
the greatest
absolutely.
opportunity
Yeah, absolutely.
they've had in a long, long time. And they've got a serious footy team now.
Yeah.
They just got to try and keep everything travelling and moving the way that they've started this season. And I'm sure they'll be in the top 8.
What about on the flip side for the Dragons halves? So they dropped Lockie Ilias and young King Tongia got a shot, but after one loss, do you bring Lockie Ilias straight back in? Or Flano said he needs to get a bit of confidence. What's the...
I really don't know.
Yeah.
I really don't know. And that's a big decision.
I think he was quite good.
He threw a beautiful ball early instead of that first try.
And he went after the game. He didn't look like he was overawed by the situation. I think if you're going to change and you're going to give a young half a go, I think you've got to stick with him for a couple of weeks and let him find his feet.
Well, great win from the West Tigers. Also a great win, not just great, it was incredible, let's just say. Fletcher Sharp and the Knights, a hat-trick on his 21st birthday. But just in general, Joey, you must have loved the fact that the Knights' attack was finally clicking because it's been a tough start to the year for them.
It was great to see the ball go Cogger to Sharp to Ponga to Best. And it happened about half a dozen times. The halves linked. They're all on the same page. Well, this young bloke, his instincts for the game, when to run, when to pass, his support play is sensational. Once again, the key players all playing together. And when they do that, they're a dangerous footy team. It was a really good performance, although against a very depleted South.
Front rower, Jacob Safudi.
Yeah, how good
He was enormous.
Unbelievable.
Just kept bending the line.
Well, he showed off the kick-off, the first kick-off of the
scattered
game. The kick return, he just went bang into about 2 or 3 defenders and really sent them backwards. That first half in particular, so they score 18 points, 3 tries in, 13 minutes, I think it was. Every time they went half break or line break, it was off the back of Saifidi's play.
Look at that balance.
Some really poor defence.
It was.
A couple of really poor tackles.
With the Rabbitohs, is it a simple case of, well, without 4 or 5 of our star players, our most experienced players, is it as simple as that, or is there more to it?
I think their attack was off because of that reason. Like you look at the experience out. What, you got Cody Walker,
No Cody, no
Latrell,
Jack Whiten, no Latrell,
Cam
no
Murray.
Cam Murray. Jamie Humphries is injured as well.
Havili.
Yeah.
So I think you can put that down to their lack of, I guess, control with the football. But defensively, every player that gets put in that footy side yesterday, as Freddie mentioned, there were some really poor efforts, and it was a bit of arm grabbing stuff, particularly in that first half. They improved as the game went on, but every person that gets an opportunity to play first grade, they should be able to get their body in front of someone and make tackles.
Jai Gray went off with the cork side.
And Marmazellis went off his
that elbow. Yeah. The good signs for the Knights, and the next 2 weeks they've got the Titans at home and the Parramatta at home. So the next 2 games are at home, very winnable games on paper. So hopefully the Knights go on a run.
Dane Gagai played his 200th game for the Newcastle Knights, and I think in a couple of weeks he plays his 300th NRL game. What a servant of the game Gags has been, and it was good that they could get up for a milestone, not just Dane Gagai, but the birthday of Fletcher Sharp as well.
What about Lewis Dodd? He finally got a start. A tough match to come into when the Knights were desperate for a victory and the Rabbitohs are depleted. But do you imagine, well, Latrell's coming back, so that could provide another option, but do you think he'll get another crack?
Yeah, I think he will. Still finding his feet in the NRL, and it's hard to judge because, once again, they had so many players out, but, I don't want to talk about the money he's on, but you need more out of your halfback when you're getting paid elite halfback money.
The other one on the extended bench is Josh Schuster. So what Josh brings is the ability to score points. Well, there might be some parts of his game which might be, as good as others, but I'll tell you what he can do. He can set up tries.
Back row.
They need to score tries. They need to threaten the other team and give their team confidence that they're going to win. And yeah, definitely. Yeah. He's a 6.
Jai Gray, tough afternoon yesterday, and he did pick up that injury, but at one stage he was leading the Dally M count.
Yeah.
Billy, at some stage, do you see Jai Gray in the coming years being in the mix for a spot in an Origin squad, and does rep footy await Jai Gray in the future?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, one thing I love about Jai Gray is he competes on everything. Yeah. No, his side's not going great, and they haven't got great all year. But
he saved about half a dozen tries.
Competes on absolutely everything. He was one of the better bunnies out there, and he had that corked thigh that I think he carried into the game and copped another knock on it. So he's playing through pain, which shows his toughness. Absolutely. There's no reason why Jai Gray wouldn't put his hand up in the future.
He's been their best, most consistent player all year. And up until he went off the field yesterday with that corked thigh, he was out and out their best player. He was the most threatening, most dangerous player with the ball. Come up with 3 or 4 tries.
They needed another one, didn't they? Like, they just kept going to him, and he was on his own. Like, he just needed one extra pass, one extra player to be creative with him. There wasn't enough.
The greatest no try of all time, but really it didn't matter in the end because the Roosters got the job done over the Dolphins on Friday night. As we welcome back to the panel from the Caxton, Darren Lockyer.
Morning, Em.
Lockie, you were on that match. What did you make of it? And have you ever seen anything quite like it? It went through, I'd say, about 13 sets of hands.
Yeah, that was some skill, and
They're all
unfortunately,
flick passes.
yeah, as Gus said in the call, flick, isn't it? Not
Flick and stick.
flick and stick. Yeah, but there was
Look at that.
Boom.
That sounds
It was close, but the right decision in the end.
Exactly.
Some desperation there by Herbie Farnworth. Finny Fuiaki getting across there.
well, I think
Greystone.
they had nearly 20 offloads, I think, in the game. The Roosters.
Yeah,
That was the thing I noticed the other night. They were winning the contact and they were winning that physicality in the game, and that was giving them the ability to get the offloads away.
Yeah, they've been attacking pretty well, actually. They've scored 82 points in the last 2 weeks. Obviously, the last week's big win on Anzac Day against the Dragons. And then to back that up in a brilliant performance, they had Sandon Smith go off the field, who was their best player last week. He went off the field early. I thought Victor Radley and James Tedesco really stood up and played that role. Connor Watson went out into the halves and did a wonderful job. Robert Toya, a young centre that's really come of age. He's had some pretty serious injuries in the early stages of his career. He was exceptional, but 7 tries to 4 to the Roosters. They were very dominant.
Mark Nwanga Nisawase, good enough for Origin, for sure.
I think one day, I don't know about it at the moment, but
Well, if Lomax doesn't come back,
well, he's going to be back, I think.
oh, is he?
He's back next week.
Yeah,
I
he's
think.
back.
If Lomax wasn't back, I'd have no hesitation putting Marky Mark in. Perfect. Big, strong, brings the ball back, strong in the air, scores tries. That one in the corner, it was freakish because naturally he ran off his left foot, then naturally the right foot should come down. But he somehow kept that right foot off the ground.
Yeah. Murray Taulagi does it as well.
Yeah.
Like, he got actually dragged out by Luke Metcalf, but the other try was unbelievable.
They keep their feet inside the field of play, but their bodies leaning outside.
The thing is with under pressure, that's the thing that you got to ask him. Like at the moment, the last 2 weeks, the Roosters have really dominated. You spoke about, they've been very physical. And they ran over the Dragons last week, and I thought they did the same to the Dolphins. But seeing them under pressure, like when he was defending at centre, just sort of, obviously he hadn't done it enough.
He's a winger.
Oh, I know he's a winger, but
I'm saying that's where you pick your Origin.
You just got to, give him more chance to be under pressure. Because start of Origin, you're constantly under pressure. Like they're at you all the time. So, I think he's a real talent, and I think over time we'll see.
It seems like we spent the whole pre-season talking about who the Roosters had lost and the fact that they hadn't really bought any marquee players, and we all had them down the bottom of the ladder, but they've backed these young players. And it's taken time, but it's paying off, isn't it? Like the guys, like you mentioned, Robert Toy and Nafahu White. He was great.
He is unbelievable. Yeah. He is world class.
Steep, Fiketti.
Steepy.
It's the best way to quieten the noise is to perform well, and that's what they've done. After round 1, we were thinking, are they going to win a game this year? Like that's where the conversation was. I think Trent Robinson, their leader on the field is James Tedesco, and he's done a wonderful job. They've led from the front, and they've dragged all these young guys with them. And you can see what Trent Robinson has been seeing through the preseason and through the development of some of these young guys' careers. That's starting to get displayed in NRL games now. And this guy, he was super, playing in front of his home crowd. He's a Brisbane boy. He was actually a Redcliffe Dolphin junior. And he was probably the second best player on the field outside of James Tedesco. But beautiful right foot step. Right foot. Scored a couple, set up a couple. He's got a real future in the game.
Well, yesterday they had the rep finals, and the Roosters in the under 17s. Yeah, they beat Parramatta.
Yeah.
So Boyd Cordner coached them, so they won. And
SG Ball's 19s, isn't it?
19s, and then Harold Matthews 17s, and the Warriors won the 17s. So, talk about the Roosters. They've got a lot of kids coming through there. They did well last year as well, so they've got a heap coming through, and that just applies pressure to everyone and keeps you on your
I think
toes.
Hugo Savala.
Hugo Savala comes through,
his
yeah.
kicking
His
game.
kicking game.
Has been impressive.
Yeah,
like it's long.
The
Bit like Mitchell
turnaround for
Moses.
them is when they rolled Penrith at Combank. Well, no one gave them a chance. And from there, all those young players have just grown in confidence, and the team has grown in confidence. I've got to say, Trent Robinson, this could be one of his biggest achievements. I know they won a couple of comps back-to-back when you have a look at that team to stat. This team, what he's getting them to do, and also the style of play. You spoke about the offloads.
Yeah.
They're finding their DNA.
What about when Sam Walker comes back? Does he go 7 or 6?
7.
Yeah.
What about James Tedesco? Freddie, he was your Sunday salute, and I mean, we could talk about him all afternoon long, but the fact that he's in such great form, now the conversations come up. Dylan Edwards or James Tedesco? We know he lost his Blues jersey to Dylan Edwards last year, lost his Kangaroos jersey as well. He was the incumbent captain too. But given the form he's in...
Well, they're very similar.
Yeah.
Like, they're all effort. You know, I don't think I've ever seen anyone, I've got to say, that puts more into a game than James Tedesco. He's in more collisions, runs more metres than any other player I reckon I've ever seen in my life. And then for a while there, there wasn't much attack with James. He'd come around and sort of the execution, you know, wasn't like some of the other fullbacks, but, you know, he's got plenty of try assists at the moment, and I feel like Dylan Edwards at the moment, like, he's injured, a bit injured, groin, so... You know, it's still 2 weeks to go, but you wouldn't, you know, James Tedesco just couldn't not let you down. He's unbelievable.
The silver lining for James was he missed out on the Australian team last year, and he got a rest. And he's bubbling with energy. He's always played that way, but that yard of speed you thought he might have lost, he seems to have got that back. And I think just having that spell has been good for him.
I can't believe how many collisions he's in a game. Like, he's constantly getting tackled. Unlike Cameron Smith.
Picked and choose.
Yeah.
Joey, you said about a month ago you'd pick Turbo, but you'd still go ahead of Teddy?
Turbo's never played fullback for New South Wales. And we've got the best of all time there, but Turbo would be in the top 3 fullbacks of all time, for sure. Where do you run him, Bill? Would you have him in the top?
At his best, there's no one better.
Yeah.
Oh, I look back to that season. Was it 21 or 19?
21.
Like, he put together that season. I think he won the Dally M medal.
Well, last week, who did they beat? They beat... who did Miami beat?
Penrith, didn't they? They beat Penrith.
Well, he's a difference.
Penrith.
He was out for 3 weeks. They lose 3 games. He comes back. They start
half
winning.
a leg too.
Yeah.
And he was the difference. I think fully fit in Origin at fullback. Wow, look out.
And what a moment for the Sharkies. They kicked off the Friday night action here at Suncorp Stadium for Magic Round. Billy, all the usual suspects stood up for the Sharkies. Will Kennedy, Nico Hines. They were good to watch. 28-18 over the Eels.
We just saw a brilliant right to left pass there by Nico Hines. I thought he got that part of his game right. Executed some great plays that eventually scored more points than their opposition. Look, the Parramatta Eels, they're putting in a whole heap of fight. They're obviously a development side. They're still working on a few parts of their game with their new coach, Jason Rolls, but they're fighting hard and they were in the contest. Mitchell Moses makes a huge difference to their footy team. I think their young fullback, Isaiah Yongi, he's a real star, but just a little bit too much class from the Sharks, who would have been disappointed with that Golden Point loss last week to the Tigers. They get back in the winner's circle.
It's the best Nico's played in a long time. A couple of clips there, he was playing straight as a gun barrel. His pass selection was good. His running game, look how straight he's playing. His pass selection was top notch. And yeah, it's good to see that confidence back. Jeez, this bloke's a good player.
He's a good player.
Isn't he?
Incredible try.
But once again, playing straight, picking the right pass. Some really good signs for Nico.
Do you think
Really
he's
good.
just playing with less weight on his shoulders and not overthinking things as much?
Don't know, but just the last couple of weeks, last week, late in the game, he was running the ball more, running the ball harder and getting into the contact. And then the other night, he's ball playing, but playing straight. That's the key.
We had a luncheon and we spoke about Cronulla. They're the same team nearly every week, but I thought the other day they were better. Well, that's the first time I've actually seen them go to that next level where they fought. Parramatta mostly didn't have the class to test them and to see how much they've actually got in the tank, Cronulla. But I thought there was a time there where the game was really close and then Nico come up with the try, Stone Street come up with the one in the corner. I thought, you know what, that was a really good test for them to go to the next level. I don't know who they got next week, but they'll were better. They were better than they have been.
And Will Kennedy's pretty much been their best, or one of, every week, and leading the Dalian medal count as well. Bill, what do you like about his game and how that's evolved this year?
Yeah, not just this week. I think he's been one of the Sharks, if not the Sharks' most consistent player all year. He's a wonderful player. He can do it all. He can run and be dangerous, pass and be dangerous, and as we see here, he can kick and be dangerous. Like he's a very dangerous player. Very consistent this year. The Sharks go Manly, then Melbourne. So a big test in the next fortnight. Still yet to have a bye. So travelled over to America at the start of the year. It's been a tough start to their season, but they'll get the rewards later on.
Perth as well, so they've had a lot of travel.
Vegas. Yeah.
Does Will Kennedy remind you of a former Sharks fullback?
A little bit taller.
Peachy?
The Peach. Couldn't he move?
Oh, he was the best, Peach. He was the best. Talk about freakish. He's one of those players, the ball just bounced for him. And, yeah, great player. Great player. Great character. Great character. Good company.
Now, there was a contentious moment. So, Joey, your Sunday salute was giving the refs a rap. There was one moment, the Ronaldo Mulitalo.
Show it in real time.
Yeah.
Don't super slow motion it. When two players are competing for the ball, just show it in real time. Yeah, this was a boo-boo. They ruled that Bailey Simonson tackled him in air, but it's just a reflex. Like, you're looking at
just competing, right?
Don't watch it in super slow motion like that. Just show it in real time and make the decision. He hasn't got time. Like, if you're trying to analyse that, it tells you about 10 different stories. Just show it in real time, make a decision, move on.
It was nearly an incredible try. I thought he scored it at the start. You two right?
I am.
We're not being mean to Freddie anymore. We got stuck into him early on. We're being nice to him now.
But lucky that wasn't a turning point. They got the penalty, but they didn't score. But I think it was 22-18 at that stage.
Yeah.
So it could have been a turning point. But there's some better signs for Parramatta. Better signs.
What about the back and forth between Mitchell Moses and Braden Trindle? Did you like that? So Trindle put a hit on Moses. They were going at it. Trindle called Mitch Moses a pussy.
Yeah.
And then Mitch Moses goes back to Trindle and is making comments about his receding hairline. we didn't hear what he said, but he's sort of pointing at the hairline.
So we got pussy, and he's probably calling him cat's hair. So any cats out there are offended, we apologise.
So Moses got a penalty there for Trindle coming out and hitting him off the ball.
Yeah. Trindle only got a fine, though.
It's probably a penalty.
I just get a feeling there's a massive stitch-up coming.
Is that because you saw it on the rundown?
Yeah.
Or did you ask for it?
No, I didn't ask for it.
Joey and Jamie Goddard, what year is this? 97, I think.
I won the first round. I fed him there, so he was on the ground.
Did you win the first round? He's getting stuck into you.
Is this still the first round?
No.
Yeah,
that was the
then round
round.
two.
Won that one.
Julian O'Neill's breathing on me. That's why I went around. That one there, I came to in the dressing room, and Dr. Nathan Gibbs was stitching me. I said, mate, what happened? He said, you had a stink. I said, how'd they go? He said, go look in the mirror. I got 27 stitches.
27?
And I thought my night's over. Concussed. Next thing I smelt this stench of Winnie Reds and Reshes. I wake up and Tommy Rodonicus is above me. He said, you let me down, you weak so-and-so. Get this Vaseline and get back out there. Get out there. Went on. We won the game.